So modern day humans have been around for about 300,000 years. And the written word, the earliest evidence of the written word is in Mesopotamia, modern day Iraq, 5,500 years ago. So in a 300,000 year period, we've only used the written word for 5,000 of those years. Now, why do I say that? Because how would humans evolve knowledge? How would we pass down knowledge? How would we actually become smarter? How would we pass knowledge generation to generation on how to survive, how to hunt? Oral history. Humans are a social, oral species where we pass knowledge down verbally. We've communicated verbally for hundreds of thousands of years, and we've only had the written word that we know of for about 5,000 to 6,000 years. So why do I bring that up? Because we don't fucking believe each other anymore. We've lost all belief in our species and our fellow man. Like, if you don't have a video of it or a photo of it, it didn't happen. No one will believe you. And we've completely lost touch with our oral tradition of this is how you survive. This is how you hunt. This is how you communicate and treat others, right? Like, we've been like that our entire history. And photos have been around for, when was in the 1800s, the camera was made, the video, camera was made in late 1800s. So like, we're relying on technology that we've only had for about 100 years to confirm our absolute true beliefs in each other and the world around us. So like, how does that make sense? How have we changed that much? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
What do you think the biggest part of like video, picture didn't happen is? Like, how did we evolve from basically believing each other and telling each other things for the entirety of our existence to like...
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there were still liars down to the, beginning of time when someone figured it out. Right. But I think the cameras have become such an easy way to justify and to, realize what's being said is true. And then you have video cameras too, right? So it's kind of like a catch-22 because the way that we evolve, with technology, it's easy to believe someone's telling the truth when you can see it for yourself. And a lot of people lie for a lot of reasons, right? And there's more reasons to lie probably today than ever.
It's like a deep question, right?
Yeah.
It's like you almost have to think about the entirety of humanity. So I have some lying stats I want to throw your way.
Yeah.
The average human in a 10-minute conversation with a stranger will lie 3 times in a 10-minute conversation with a stranger, the average human. That's kind of crazy to me to think about.
So you below average people keep lying. I see you.
Yeah. The truth tellers are going to stay. No. And then humans are able to lie about 6 months old. They develop the skills of lying. You like see a little baby who's like crying and like looking around and like, who's believing me? And then starts crying again. Yeah. So like our brain typically develops the capacity to lie about 6 months old. Humans that are pathological liars will have more white matter in their brain chemically. Like this is like a science. And humans that tell the truth will have more gray matter in their brain. And what is the difference? Gray matter is critical thinking, and white matter is associated with more of like memorizing information or, processing information, but not critical thinking. So if you're lying all the time, think about it. You're only trying to remember information that you've told because you're caught in a lie and you need to remember your lie. But if gray matter, if you're telling the truth all the time, you can critically think better through situations because you're actually looking for the truth in a situation, not just how can I lie or how can I get out of this. So like there is scientific data and chemicals in our brain that will evolve based off whether we tell the truth or not, which is crazy to me.
So it sounds like a lot of really smart people are probably liars.
But that's the thing, right? But this is why Eckhart Tolle always says, like, you can either intelligence, you don't want to be clever, right? Politicians can be clever. And like, that's just like lying to get your way or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's a very short form of gratification. but wisdom is truth telling. Wisdom is the ability to see the difference, right? So it's like, do you want to be intelligent and clever, or do you want to be wise and truthful? You know what I mean? Like those are the two. Like intelligence created the atom bomb, but would wisdom have created the atom bomb?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Right. And it's like, obviously you look at like ended the war or whatever, but it's still a mass genocidal weapon.
Yeah. But I also agree in different forms of intelligence, right? There's emotional intelligence. There's, book smart intelligence. There's street intelligence, having street smarts, physical intelligence with your body. Some people got nothing going on upstairs, but they're jacked. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of different forms of intelligence. But to what you're saying, I love the comparison of intelligence versus wisdom. And wisdom is in my opinion, a much more valuable tool.
In the long run, I think it's healthier. I think it's better to strive for wisdom. And it's like, you might be saying like, well, if you're smart, you're smart. And it's like, no, like you just said, like, if you're smart, you can manipulate people, but does that mean you're doing a good job, like a good thing for humanity?
Well, I've also found that there's been very smart people that will believe themselves and they'll find justifications for their way of thinking, and whether it's right or wrong, they'll believe it's right, and then they'll convince themselves and try to convince others when it can be clearly wrong as day, as night, wrong as day. It could be wrong.
No, for sure. And that's exactly right. Like the ego is blind, dude. Like when you're acting out of ego, you don't even realize that you're doing something wrong, or you convince yourself that you're doing something right. I think even Jesus said that. I mean, I know Eckhart says it all the time, like the ego is blind, because a lot of people don't even realize when they're lying, or like lying to themselves or lying to someone else. Yeah. Anyway, that's like, it was a huge conversation we could talk about for a long time, but like, I always think about that. Like, why don't we just believe people anymore? And it's like, of course we have to follow through and be thorough. If someone says they saw an alien or a UFO, you have to follow through. Of course, you're not just going to believe everybody that says that because human beings lie.
Yeah.
But we've also got better at understanding when people are lying.
Yeah.
Right. So like, because of lying, we've also adapted to be able to catch people in lies more.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of motive reasons why somebody would lie too, like even in current day, if you're the first person, quote unquote, obviously there's been plenty sightings of UFOs, but if you're the first person to have real evidence or a convincing, testimony, that there's things like fame that come along with that, right? It might lead to money, might lead to, a change in circumstance. Yeah, there's a lot of different reasons. I know that's just one example, but why somebody would do that. So I think that's why, it's not just like, I don't know, it's so hyper complex because it can go every single way, the idea of why somebody would do that, or why people do anything, really.
I totally agree.
But I think there are people out there that are telling the truth about what they've seen and are sharing it, and people still don't believe it.
Thank you for watching Studio 22.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
And follow our socials at Studio 22 Podcast.